Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Rocco McSweets. This is the Sweet Spot. I'm being joined today by the Primos World Heavyweight Champion, the man that defeated the monster, Marlon Bishop, Lonnie Valdez. How's it going, brother?
Not too bad, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing, man. It's a fun day. Well, we're on it's Thursday?
It is Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, Thursday, man. Time flies by with me, man.
Same.
How you been?
I've been good, man. Been good. Just in the gym and at the butcher shop, training like crazy, just waiting for the next match. I got a Marlon this Sunday. I'm doing the rematch with him. He was definitely the first guy in line for that. Like nobody deserves it more, man. He's a solid dude, and like I said, he didn't have to give me that title shot, but he did, just out of respect and stuff like that. So, I'm happy to return the favor and do it again. Everybody seemed to like the match, so go in there and run it back and do it one more time.
Yeah, it was an amazing match. You and Marlon really tore down the Roxy. It was the first defeat of Marlon Bishop's reign, and your first match back in a long time. Was there anything that you did leading up to that match to ensure victory or to create that leverage that you needed to win that matchup?
I had several different plans going into that match. If you notice, like the very first thing I do is in that match, it's called a Eminari heel hook, where I go and try to get the leg. And, obviously a man Marlon size, you want to start working on his legs and kind of, take out that mobility. But he was just too big, and he just reached out and grabbed the ropes, and that ring's kind of small. So I immediately kind of switched plans to plan B and just try to, come out with kicks and flips and the stuff that I normally do, where I'm more comfortable at. And, leading up to the match, it was all cardio, man. I've been, I've been out of the ring for a while. So I needed to, I ended up, after COVID, I ballooned up to 215, man. So I jumped out there and it was bad. So I dropped a lot of weight and got my cardio up. I was doing wind sprints in the park all the time, just because, I know I'm going to go in there and be in there with, Marlon, 15, 20 minutes and, trying to survive a beating with that guy and having my lungs on fire is just, it's not smart. So, so I was trying to get my cardio up.
How long has it been since you, before the Marlon match, but how long had it been since you'd been in the ring?
It was a year, like a year and some change. That was my last match was in Lucha Libre and Laughs. I wrestled Caleb Crush, and he kind of destroyed me. He killed me. I left me a bloody mess in the ring. So I took some time off from there, and then I was going to just take a few months off and just kind of reassess. And then of course Trajan passed away, and that was that was a big loss for me. So I needed to take some time to grieve properly and do the whole thing and kind of get in a better mindset. And it took me about a year. So but it was about 4 years since I've been in a Primo's ring.
Oh, really? See, okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. I believe I'd seen you at a few shows.
Yeah.
You were there and we'd met, but I never got to see you actually do your thing until recently.
Man. Yeah. No, it's been about 4 years. As a matter of fact, the last time I was in the Primo's ring was when I wrestled Leo or Elias, or the one half of the Pitbulls, Canadian Pitbulls. That's when I dropped the title. He beat me for the title. That was the last match I really had in Primos, like 4 years ago. And now I come back and get the title shot. And I think that was another thing that really helped me in a match against Marlon was he hadn't seen me and been too familiar with me, so I could present something a little different from him. It's gonna be a whole new challenge on Sunday. So like now we're familiar, and he's got a more of a kind of an understanding what's going on. Not gonna say he underestimated me. I don't think that was the case at all. I just think he was prepared for something else. You know what I'm saying? And so I think he took it very seriously. But it was just like I said, kind of prepared for another wrestler, and then I came through with some different tricks. So we're gonna see. Sunday is gonna be a whole new ball game, whole new wrestling match. I'm sure Marlon's not gonna make the same mistakes, so I got to reassess and come out with a great game plan. He's a great wrestler and obviously a physical specimen. So I got to be prepared for the worst.
That dude is amazing. Got God, what? At least 1,000 pounds, chiseled cut, not 1 ounce of fat on that body. Like, bruh, ridiculous shape.
Yeah.
And then, with his football background, I believe he played fullback. So he was out there running motherfuckers over all day. Like, that's just what he did, So
I thought he was a nose tackle. Like, he's a big boy. He's like 285. He's huge.
Yeah, I think I believe he played fullback for the Falcons. He was definitely like I think he played a little bit of fullback for them, the Broncos. I think he played in Detroit for a little bit.
No, he's from Detroit. He played for the Jets, the Falcons, and the Broncos. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and then he also did the arena football stuff too. So like he's a monster, man. And now he's here in wrestling.
Yeah.
But let's a little bit of a build up to the Marlon and yourself. You had two individuals stick their noses in things, Killian Crow and a man you just mentioned, Caleb Crush.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any plans going forward, to smooth out that road to end their fun at Primo's?
Well, we're going to see about that. Like, first things first is, I'm kind of can't look past Marlon, and I got to focus on that. I know Marlon's not a fan of those guys, and neither am I, obviously. They've been kind of knocking down his door for a long time before I showed up, and I think it pisses them off that I kind of jumped the line and just got the title shot right away.
Yeah. Hold on. Let's think about this. You were you never had your title rematch, so I mean, technically, it just kind of it falls in place, So
yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to think where Killian and Caleb even have the idea that they're in some form of contention for that title when, I haven't seen them around much to put themselves in that position. I think they've lost every time they've tried to get in that position. So I
think everybody's lost against Marlon. So there's no shame losing to Marlon, but yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, man, just looking forward to the future and taking on these guys and just kind of playing it by ear and seeing where we're going to go from here. So first things first is Marlon, and then after that we'll kind of see where we're headed and what kind of shape I'm in after that.
Yeah, right. Adjust your sights, see if let's best scenario, you win, you get the 1, 2, 3, you walk out with the title, and then possible run in down the road with either Killian or Caleb, which I think easy work for you. I know Caleb and you had your battle, but after seeing the work that you'd put in to come back against Marlon, I think that's a hill that you can climb pretty easy.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't underestimate Caleb, man. He's really become.
Oh, I do not. Don't get me wrong. I don't.
He's become
amazing.
He's become one of the top guys out here, and a lot of people make that mistake because he was such a goofy kind of character for a long time, and now he's get serious and got his eyes on the prize, and he's very vicious. I've been on the receiving end of that, and I can tell you, just kind of seeing where he came from and where he was at, and where he is at now. It's a very dangerous dude, and in a town full of great wrestlers, and this town is really blossoming into a wrestling hotspot, and a lot of people are overlooking. A lot of people are overlooking Colorado, but man, it's kind of stacked to the brim right now. And Caleb's one of the most talked about wrestlers in this town. So, he's definitely he's no easy win. He's no he's not going to lay down for anybody. So, Caleb's he's a dangerous dude too.
Oh, completely. And what are your thoughts on Killian? Do you have similar sentiments for that man as well?
Big guy, hard hitter. I've only seen a few of his matches and stuff like that because he is fairly new to the game.
Yeah.
But with new people like that, you just you never know what they're going to pull out because they don't know what kind of wrestler they are yet. You know what I mean? Like it takes you a good 5 years to really kind of settle in and kind of figure out what you're doing. So the unpredictability of somebody brand new is always surprising, and you can't look past that. It's new guys always trying new things, new moves, and be shocked at size guy Killian size. All of a sudden he's trying to do moonsaults and whatever. You just never know what you can expect from a new wrestler because they're figuring out their own stuff, and every now and then they hit a home run with something. So you just got to be prepared for it.
Yeah, it's you bring up them being a new wrestler, and they're new, but they also have a trajectory, and they're kind of they're heading upwards. And someone like that is super dangerous, especially being a champion, because like you said, you don't know what they're going to bring. They could be working on something that they don't plan on showing until they specifically meet you. They could have a game plan in store that's just built around Lonnie Valdez.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, they're pretty unpredictable because you just they're fresh and new to the game. But there's a lot of really good young talent that's coming up right now that's just severely impressive, and a lot of names on my list that I can't wait to mix it up with. Guys, a lot of guys get tossed at me a lot. In names that get brought up wrestling me. I know Von Wasson. He just kind of declared on Facebook he would like to wrestle me. I'm down for that.
Amazing talent. Amazing talent. Super talented.
Absolutely. And Delta is just kind of become like one of the top luchas out here. He just came back from Defy, and that name's been thrown at me a couple times. Chad down in CWC down in Colorado Springs wants to make that happen, and I'm down.
That would be fun. That would be a blast.
Yeah, Balaam Links is another guy that gets tossed at me quite a bit, so I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a mix. I've never wrestled Bruce Wayans one-on-one, so I know that's a thing. But
have you had a chance to wrestle Red Viper?
No, I never got the chance to wrestle Red Viper. As
soon as they're healed back up, I'm telling you, that's a dream match right there. That's one boy.
Yeah, I'm absolutely down. Viper kind of impressed me with his work before he got injured. Which was unfortunate.
Yeah.
But saw a couple of his matches and was very impressed with it. So I would love to mix it up with pretty much anybody. And I can sit here and name names all the time, but I don't want to leave anybody out and offend anybody. But there's just a lot of great talent. Probably the top one though that I get all the time is Logan Austin Logan. That one. That one gets thrown in the mix a lot, and we've only been able to mix it up once. But that was a few years ago. He was 18. He was fresh. So
was that still when he was doing the Hawaiian surfer stuff?
No. He was kind of, like I said, finding his way, and where he was at. But he was 18, and we tried to get him a audition match for Lucha Libre and Laughs, and we got him one at the Ratio Beer Works, and I stepped up to be his opponent that night, and kind of give him the audition and kind of make him look, try to get the spotlight on him. And it worked. Yeah. He's in LLL now, and he's doing great. And he's a great dude. I like Austin a lot. And I'm looking forward to mixing
reached out to me quite a few times.
Great guy.
Helped lift up my head, or there's a few times I've had questions about working out and losing weight specifically. And I mean, obviously they're in amazing shape, tremendous shape. So when they inboxed me, I didn't even inbox them. They messaged me directly. I just put some on Facebook, and they're a saint, man. They're such a great person. I'm really happy they're part of this whole situation.
Oh yeah, man. Like I said, the future is bright in this town, and I'm really, really happy with it, especially, with the opportunities these guys got. Like I was telling a few of the students at the butcher shop, like, when I was coming up, when me and Joe McDougal were coming up, or Johnny Crash or Caleb Crush, like there was only like 2 promotions in town, and you only worked for one or the other. You didn't work for both, and the closest other promotions in Utah, what I mean? So you work like once every 6 weeks in front of a crowd. Now you could work, like Balaam worked a triple shot, the other day. So like, there's so many wrestling companies out here, and like these guys can really take advantage of it and really get good really fast. So it's, it's a great town to see these guys blossoming, and I'm just looking forward to all of these young fresh guys. Like the more the merrier, and I'm keeps me on my toes and keeps me going. So I get to show off what I could do. A lot of people aren't very familiar with me because I've been gone for a year and I haven't been in primos for like 4 years. So to come back and kind of make a big splash is it's nice to see the reception. Seeing guys like Von Wasson come out and be like, yeah, I want to wrestle Lonnie Valdez. I'm very impressed with this style, or something like that. It's a big compliment, and I'm looking forward to showing them all what I could do again.
Well, it's going to be a fun run. I think you're back. You have a great mindset going into this run. So the sky's the limit. I mean, going forward right now, I mean, like you said, Colorado is such a hot spot. We have so many great wrestling companies. I have a few listed above right here. AWR is obviously not Colorado, but CSW, Primo, CWC, we got BPW, we got Lucha Libre and Labs. I mean, there's a lot of wrestling here. I think IWC, Hugo's Lucha Libre, ORW. I mean, it's amazing the amount of like work that these individuals can get if they want it. Like you said, back in the day, I wasn't here during those times, but back in the day, I think they used to run shows down at the Coliseum every now and then, right? Denver Coliseum.
There was one show at the Coliseum, yeah. Like they did a pretty big house. I think they brought in like Piper or like Jake the Snake. I forget who it was, but they drew like a pretty big house there. That was the other company, but even the company I was working for, we were drawing 500-600 a show, like every time back then. But it was
exactly.
Yeah, but it was like a whole different world back then, man. It was I can't tell you how far this place has come. I mean, I've been doing this month is 24 years for me.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah, on my birthday, my first day in the ring was my 18th birthday in Florida, and I got a picture of me and Lita with my birthday cake somewhere around here. Lita was I trained with Dory Funk down in Florida, and Lita was a part of that camp. So so yeah, she was there. But yeah, I got a birthday picture of me with her and that birthday cake. But yeah, it's been 24 years this month. When on my birthday, which is August 15th, it'll be 24 years. And seeing this town go from that to this, like the old RMCW days, that was the days when it was either a bunch of super skinny guys or super big guys, and everybody wore t-shirts. Nobody had like wrestling gear. I mean, it was kind of one of those things. But we're still drawing like 500, 600 people. But there was a wrestling boom at that time. Like. Every time a wrestling boom happens, it's because there's two national companies. It was like in the 80s, there was NWA and WWF, and then it was WCW and WWF. Now it's AEW and WWE. So like, I
would even throw NJPW in that mix because they have such a big base here too now. Yeah, and
well, the thing is you would need two national companies promoting nationally, because
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so like when they're promoting, they're promoting WWE and AEW, but ultimately they're not just brand promotions, they're product promotions, which is pro wrestling, which, gets a lot of people interested, and that kind of filters down to the indie level. And that's why we can have, 10 companies right now all doing pretty well, and, have all these opportunities for young guys. And AEW just signed a 5-year extension, so I don't think this wrestling boom is going to slow down anytime soon. So I encourage all of these guys so much to just take advantage of these opportunities and really just go after it, because you'd be surprised what doors can open for you by just being ready. And
a little bit of hard work, goes a long way, I think, is the old saying. And we got a lot of talent, here in Colorado. But let's go back to like the early days. What do you know about a guy named Sinner?
That was one of my original wrestling names. Yeah, that was my original wrestling name was Terry Sinner in Florida. Yeah, because I was a big Terry Funk fan, and I got to and then I got trained by Dory, and Terry Funk just really reminded me of my grandfather a lot. Just that hardworking, like I don't know what it was, but he just reminded me of grandfather. And my grandfather was a big hero of mine. He was. I'm divorced now, but at my wedding, my grandfather was actually the best man at my wedding. So, Terry Funk was
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. But yeah, Terry Funk was a big deal for me. So I named myself Terry Sinner. And then when I came out here, it just got shortened down to Sinner. And but that was the indie scene back there. Like every promotion had a Sinner, every promotion had a Cage, every promotion had a like a Prodigy. Like there was or every promotion had a Kamikaze. Like it was like there was like 10 wrestling names that every promotion had in every state, everywhere, and that was mine.
What happened?
Yeah, so I wrestled as that for a while. I think I wrestled for that like for a year, and then I became Sin Ray, because I wanted to step away from that.
I was gonna ask about Sin Ray.
Yeah.
Where'd that? Okay, now let's talk about that one. How'd that come about?
That was actually Jay Quintana or Vince Vaughn. He's been a staple around here. He sings in a lead singer in a band now, but he was big influence on my career back then. But he was telling me I should step away from that name because it was just too common. And so my middle name is Ray. So I just cut it in half and added Sin Ray, and I just thought it was unique and different. So I ran with that for a little while. Yeah, so that was kind of just the story of it. I just realized how common it was. And if you're going to look up a wrestler on the internet and kind of Google them and you type in Sinner, you're going to get like 500 responses. So I was like, Sin Ray will be more, kind of accurate. And then I just realized I was like, I don't really need a gimmicky name. I could just go with Lonnie Valdez, and and once I made that commitment, it was just like, all right, cool.
And that's a shoot name. That's your real name.
That is my real name.
That's cool as hell. Yeah, not too many people actually like go by there. They always have some variant or something.
Yeah, I think it's me and Cody Devine are like the last two people that's actually his shoot name as well. So.
What?
Yep.
There's no way you're born with such a good gimmick name like that.
Dude, it was so funny.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, when I trained him, like we're coming up with different names for different guys.
You trained him?
Yeah, I trained Cody.
That's crazy. Keep going. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, I trained Cody. I trained Caleb Crush. I trained Johnny Crash. I trained.
I know you did a lot of help with Rob Buster. You helped him back in the day.
I trained him out of ref. Yeah, and I showed him a little bit. I think Joe McDougal was his main wrestling trainer, but I kind of showed him the basics to start him off. But yeah, I was.
He definitely told me that you were the one that taught him how to do like wrist locks and like a little bit of catch, because I guess he popped you with some catch wrestling at some point. You're like, where the hell did you? And he's like, you, brother, you.
Yeah, like I do certain things a certain way. Like I execute moves a certain way. Like when I'm doing chain wrestling, I push out the wrist. I do things like that to create distance and stuff like that. And he was showing somebody how to do like an arm wringer, and I saw him push the wrist out like that, and I was like, wait, who taught you how to do that? Because that's a very unique thing that like my students do, And I was like, who taught you how to do that? And he's like, you did. You showed me like how to. I was like, I remember showing you like how to wrestle a little bit, but I didn't think it would stick like that. And it's funny because like I just saw a guy named Chance who came back to Primo's. He's been gone for like 7 years, and he came back to the butcher shop recently, and he got in the ring and he started doing stuff, and he did the same thing and pushed it out. And I was just like, man, it's a very signature thing that I see on my students, and guys like Cody and Royce Isaacs and stuff like that. I trained Royce too.
Yo, what a talent is Royce, huh? That man. Dude, ridiculous.
He's so good, man. I'm so proud of him to see.
Yeah.
I think as a trainer, your goal should be to have students that can surpass you and do better than you, and and seeing Royce do that and kind of just kind of blow up the way he is. It's just I love him to death because we became super close. Like me and Royce were. More than just a trainer student and all that other stuff. Like we became really good friends, and we were hanging out constantly. We'd go downtown constantly. We travel together, we roll together, birthdays together, all of that different stuff. So that was a good 3 years where me and him were kind of really close. And now I just get to tag him in memes and stuff like that, and kind of hit him up every now and then when he comes to town. Get to see him. So just ridiculously proud of Royce. But yeah, that's just certain things that I trained a certain way, and seeing certain guys do certain things, it always pops me. But yeah, Buster definitely did pop me.
Buster pops me a lot. That man is a unique talent, from being Billy to being Rob the Rule Buster in the ring as a ref.
No, it was the opposite. Buster was a fan. Oh, I used to own my own company, Saga, the Striking and Grappling Aerialists, and it was me and.
Okay, that's what he told me. He brought up Saga. We just had a road trip together, and he was bringing up Saga. Tell me about it. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So me and Epic, who passed away a couple of years ago, and Trajan, who passed away last year. Like we were really close. We were the original Untouchables. It was us and Caleb Crush and Johnny Crash. We were called the Untouchables, but we were like an in-ring stable. We were more like a outside the ring best friend stable.
Like the Clique.
Like the Clique, yeah. And so we decided we wanted to run our own company, and we got Saga, and um, we were running good shows, man. We were selling out, big houses, and we started bringing in big names like Raven, Sandman, Christopher Daniels, and then that's when I wrestled Seth Rollins, was for Saga, and we actually at one point we actually negotiated a national television show with a direct with a Dish TV network, and then but the company that ran that television network, that it folded before we shot the promos for it. That's why I wrestled with Seth Rollins, is because that was our pilot episode that we were going to put out there. And
was it before WWE, back when he was still Tyler Black?
Tyler Black, yeah, he was the Ring of Honor. I think at the time when I wrestled him, he was the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champion and Pro Wrestling Guerrilla Tag Team Champion. So that's when I got to wrestle him. It's funny. That's a funny story too. Awesome. We were going to wrestle, like we were either going to get him or Daniel Bryan to come and wrestle me, or Bryan Danielson. And the reason we went with Tyler Black instead of Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson was because his flight was $100 cheaper, because he was closer. They were the same price. Like, their asking fee was the same price, and the hotel was the same price, obviously, but the flight was $100 cheaper. So we went with Seth instead of Daniel.
Them Iowa boys, I'm telling you, they saving us.
Yeah, for real. So it was I just remember that because Trajan was the one who kind of hooked that all up, and that was I'll never forget that. And I still kind of I'm still curious of what it would have been like if me and Daniel Bryan went at it, but Seth was no joke, so I'm not. It's definitely not a consolation prize. It was a blast, But Saga. We used to we would wrestle up at the Buffalo Rose in Golden. That's where we did our initial shows, and we were doing great. And this guy showed up, and he just wanted to take pictures, and Caleb Crush knew him, and he's like, "Yeah, this guy's name is Robert Buster." I was like, "That's his name, Robert Buster?" He's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "All right." He's like, "He just wants to shoot some pictures and stuff like that, and all that." And I was like, "Well, tell him, if we could use the pictures, if he sends them to us, like, we'll give him free admission. He could come in and shoot all the pictures he wants." He's like, "Okay." So he did that a couple of times, and everybody just liked Rob so much. And on his birthday, we had a show on his birthday, and I did like the pre-show, like, hype the team up kind of, rah speech or whatever. And then at the end of it, I had a referee shirt in my hand, and I was just like, because at the time, we had one referee, which is Pat. If you know Pat, yeah, Pat's awesome. But he looks like Super Mario. He's got a big mustache, but he very rarely refs anymore. But he was our main ref, and he would ref all of our matches. And I was like, "You know what, Pat? Tonight we got like 7 matches, and I don't think it should be a workload all on your shoulders. So what I was thinking was, tonight, instead of you reffing the whole thing, we'll just we're gonna let Rob Buster ref one of these matches." And I threw the referee shirt over him on his shoulder, and he's like, "Are you serious?" And we're like, "Happy birthday, bro! You're wrestling. You're gonna referee my match." He's like, I don't know what to do." I was like, "Don't worry about it. You'll referee my match, so you'll be fine." And Rob told me, like, he was so blown away, and everybody was clapping for him, and because we all just instantly liked Rob. And he said he's embarrassed when he looks back at that match, because he went back and touched up all of the footage, because he was wearing blue jeans. And he was like, "I want black pants. I hate that I wore blue jeans my very first time refereeing." So he he went back and touched up all the footage so he'd wear black pants.
That's what he so that's a story that he kind of filled me in. I'm glad you're able to tell it here. It's such a good story to hear. Yeah, especially because Rob's such a good person, such a great heart, such a nice guy. Dude, what a way to like reward him, with that, like, and you're gonna be reffing, and he's like, "What?" Blown away. And now, let's be honest, he's probably, if not the best referee in America. Like, this dude is ridiculous.
I love Rob. Like, Rob is just like, as a referee, so solid. But yeah, out of all the refs, Pat was great. Pee Wee was, I only got to ref me a couple times, but Pee Wee did a great job. But I think my 2 favorite refs are like him and Scotty McLovin, or Scotty Rodriguez now. I think that's his new name, his new last name.
I don't think I've met him.
Scotty McLovin, they used to call him McLovin. He was a Primos ref, but just really good, like a really good Primos ref. And he kind of retired and went away, but I'm sure he'll be there on Sunday. I'm pretty sure he's going to be there on Sunday for the reunion. But McLovin was like he was the top ref. Because Buster stopped ref and went and did Billy, and he became Billy and just became a hardcore maniac. And it was just like, where's this sweet kid that used to just take pictures of all of us? Now he's out there swinging light tubes at everybody. But
that's something that, like, I get that vibe too. So hanging out with him or just being around him, it's like, how are you the dude that goes out there and bleeds like that and just beats the hell out of people? Like, you're so nice. You're so sweet.
You'd be surprised, man. Those deathmatch guys, or some of them are just like the biggest teddy bears, and you're just like
100%, 100%.
Yeah, and you want to hug them, but they're always covered in thumbtacks and glass, and you're like, I don't want to hug you.
But all the blood too, all the blood. You're like, well, I'm wearing nice clothes. I can't do this right now, really.
Yeah, Buster's one of those guys. He's great at it. You know what I mean?
Man.
Yeah, I love that dude to death, but man, I can sit here and tell stories about all my friends for a long time,
Yeah, Buster, though, I mean, they deserve the love. There's someone that deserves the love. How long did you and Trajan, did you guys start out together in this business? Was that kind of like, or did you guys meet each other eventually after you'd both trained?
No, I trained Trajan from the start.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that.
I was no problem. I was wrestling for RMCW, and they had a training center, and so like I would go like every day, that I could. I was only 19, and then like I turned 20, and because I was trained by Dory Funk, like they wanted me to be one of the trainers there. Robert Amador was like the head trainer, and they wanted me to train because I knew some different training stuff from Dory. I was like, okay, cool. And Robert would show up like once a week, or at the very end of training or whatever. So the classes were pretty much me just training everybody. And then Robert would show up and do a couple things. And so a guy named Rowdy Knight out here, he was one of the RMCW guys, and he was going through the mall, and he was buying wrestling DVDs at this at like the Sun Coast or whatever that was, that store that used to be in the malls. And Trajan was working there, and he was working the counter, and he saw Robert buying, or Rowdy Knight buying those DVDs, and he asked him questions, and Rowdy Knight was just like, well, if you want to train, our training center is literally right down the block. And so Trajan came and had a very bad night, got the hell beat out of him, didn't quite know. Trajan made this mistake that a lot of guys mistake, like he thought he had to have a persona and an attitude like coming into training and kind of having that, and it was just like, no, you shouldn't do that. And we kind of beat him up. But and I didn't think he was going to come back. And then the next week he came back and was like, okay, cool. And we didn't really like Trajan at first. Like me and Epic and like Johnny Crash and another guy named Jeremiah. We didn't really, which is funny, Jeremiah had a in-ring name of Damon Jace. And now out here there's a Damon Ace guy out here now. but we didn't really like Trajan at the beginning. And then we did a road trip up to Wyoming and had a big show up there at the Icon Center. And that was a huge show. I think we did like 1,200 seats on that show. But Trajan rode up there with us, and he was our road buddy. And that's where he became like one of our like good close friends. And like that one road trip, we came back and we were just like all besties. And that's when we started calling ourselves the Untouchables, because back then it was very cutthroat out here and a lot of backstabbing, and you couldn't really know who to trust and all that other stuff. But the five of us, 6 of us, because there was a guy named Zach who lives in Arizona now. But like the 6 of us, we were like, we were just always hanging out with each other. We were like around each other constantly. When I turned 21, like I was the oldest, so I turned 21, so I was the one buying all the booze for everybody, and we'd go hang out every weekend. And we used to go to training like 3 times a week. It was Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then after training, we would go to this same Taco Bell. And we'd buy like 2 things and like sit there and just talk about wrestling and just be friends for like, training would end at 9 and we would go home at like midnight, and those Taco Bell people were like, just get out. Like, what are you doing here? And like, why are you still here? Get out. And
you guys bought one soft taco, go.
Yeah, exactly. So we tried to make friends with the people who worked there, and they got to the point where they just knew us, and we'd be there until midnight and just, we'd just all hang out and then go home. And we did that for like 2 years, and we just became really, really close friends. But Trajan was one of those guys, and I had my fingers in his training since the beginning. the other people that he credits as being, or he credited when he was alive as being his trainers, was Robert Amador, of course, because he was the head trainer there. He was like, "You're my head. You're my." The main trainer with Robert was there, and the other one was Derek Stone, who showed him some stuff too. So he gave a lot of credit to Derek Stone as well. And that's one thing I always kind of impressed on my students was like, I'll be your main trainer or your first trainer, but please go seek out other training and get training from other people, because the more eclectic you know experience you have, the better a wrestler you're going to be. And like I with like Royce and Cody, I made them wrestle like 50 matches in practice before I recommended them for a show. Because and when they wrestled the 50 matches, I was like, you can only wrestle one opponent 5 times, so you got to get a minimum of 10 opponents to finish this assignment. Because I want you to experience wrestling different people and be in the ring. Like if you wrestle me 50 times, you're going to be really good at wrestling me. But as soon as
amazing, right?
Yeah. But as soon as I put you in there with Joe McDougal or with Trajan, you're going to fall apart. You're not going to know what to do. So I always kind of stress that, get an eclectic education out there. Don't just, one thing that I tell you, you might not like as much as, somebody else may come up with a better idea. And, it's not like, just go and seek out other educations and get different perspectives from different trainers, because you'll just get better faster. That's the way it is,
Yeah, I've seen a lot of my friends get into pro wrestling as far as training and stuff. It was something I always wanted to do. Unfortunately, my back is not in. I could never ever do it. But to add on to your point, there's been multiple times that I'll see someone specifically running the ropes. And one guy says you should run it in 5. Another guy says you should run it in 3. Another says you should run it in 4. But then the really smart dude goes, well, you're going to have different size rings and you're going to have to learn to run those rings. That's why it's good to get in there before the show, hit those fucking ropes, see what you're working with. Take the steps beforehand to figure out what you're going to do at the end of the night. Because if you get in that ring, you don't know what's in front of you. And especially if you're not like highly trained or have done years worth of work, you're not going to know how to do that.
Yeah, man. And like I'll train you a certain way that I know is safe, and that's how I know how to train, and that's how I wrestle, and it is what it is. But if you get in the ring and somebody else showed you something else, and I see you doing it their way, and it's still safe, I'm fine with it. Like like everybody. Yeah. So Jeff Doyle is one of the trainers at the butcher shop now. And he shows something a little bit different from me, but I'm not going to say anything because it works and it's safe and it is what it is. And I've got all the respect in the world for that guy. He's a great trainer. So everybody does things a little bit different. That's what makes our business so great. You got to have Filters and Lonnie Valdez's and Johnny Crashes and Ezra's and Tyra's. You got to have all kinds of different people to make this this clock tick. That's kind of the appeal of our business, is you get to see all these mashups and different people. Like we were talking about earlier with different guys that I'm supposed to be paired up with and wrestle. It's interesting to see like a lot of people want to see me versus Logan or me versus Balaam Lynx, and I really want those matches too. But as much as I want that, I want to wrestle Johnny Cratch again. I haven't wrestled him in 5 years, and he's a different wrestler than he was back then.
Yes.
Completely. Filters the same way. It's been a minute since we've been in the ring together, and
that would be a good one. That's actually one I didn't even think about. Yo, good idea there. Filter versus Lonnie Valdez, Chad, Kalina. Get on
it. I know, right? Well, Filter's a solid guy, man. So impressive.
Completely.
I always tell this story because I use him as an example for a lot of students, where I'm like, you just be humble and ask for advice, and then when it's given to you, apply it. Because Filter, a long time ago, I just went to a Primo show to watch, just to be in the audience. And Filter was very young in the business, and he came up to me very respectfully and was like, will you watch the match and give me some pointers? I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then after his match, I went backstage and I was like, here's what I noticed. Here's where you could improve, and I gave him 3 things that he could improve on. He was like, thank you very much, and shook my hand. And then I came back the next month and watched the next show. And his match, he did all the things that I told him to do. Like he applied it. And he didn't like be like, hey, watch this. Or I don't even know if he knew I was in the audience, but he just did it. And I was so impressed and I was so blown away. That I was like, that's such a humble and like great attitude to have. So I went in the locker room, and back then Nick Gossard, who's the promoter for LLL, he was the referee that night because he used to like to referee a lot. And I told Nick, I was just like, hey, Nick, when you get a chance, dude, I want to wrestle Filter. Like, bring him into LLL and wrestle Filter. And I said it loud in front of the whole locker room. And, next thing I know, Filter's in LLL, and me and him are duking it out in LLL. And I got some great pictures of those matches because, like, with his size, he just tosses me around. So, like, I got one picture where, like, I'm sailing into the corner, or, like, I'm doing this big backflip, to the outside of the ring. But you get unique pictures like that with a guy his size. And, so I always use Filter as an example of that, where, like, he sought out an education in other places. He looked for advice. He saw an opportunity to get advice from a vet, and he took it and had the best attitude about it. So I use him as an example quite a bit. And, we've mixed it up quite a bit. Fun fact, it was in the intergender tag team tournament in Lucha Libre and Laughs. It was me and Shotzi Blackheart against Filter and I forget his tag team partner's name, but yeah, me and Shotzi were a tag team partner. We were tag team at one point.
That's cool.
Yeah. I've got.
Didn't try and slay any farts or nothing, did you? Sorry, I had to.
No, nothing like that. Yeah.
What can you tell me about the time that Sofa King overkilled Joey T?
Oh my God, dude. Yeah, I tell that story quite a bit. So yeah, our stable name was Sofa King Over, which a lot of people really liked. But it was me and a guy named Bam Bam, who's 7 feet, and at the time he was like 380. And then and a guy named Jeff Cause, and Jeff Cause just recently came back to training at a butcher shop, so we'll be seeing him soon.
Let's go.
Yeah, and so it was the three of us, and I had this idea for a stable of like the Freebirds, right? And I was gonna be the lead guy, the Michael Hayes, and the main eventer, and Bam Bam was gonna be Bam Bam. That's why I named him Bam Bam after Terry Bam Bam Gordy. And then Jeff Cause was gonna be the Buddy Roberts, the guy who took the pinfalls and kept us safe, because he was the guy that could get beat up, and we were the guys that were protected. And it worked really well. And this was the first time I was really a heel in Colorado, because I've always just been, babyface. Everybody likes to cheer me. I'm the hometown boy, with the big fun moveset. So, I always kind of had that face appeal. But
we heard the cheers last show, brother. They were loud and proud for Lonnie. Keep going.
The first time in Primos, it wasn't like that. So, like, I was supposed to. Like, I was wrestling for different companies, and when I approached Joe about booking Bam Bam, because he wanted to get in there, and Bam Bam was like fresh-faced, brand new rookie, but he's huge, obviously. And I was like, yeah. And Joe's like, well, yeah, I'll book you both. And I'm like, okay. So, because I was just kind of planning on being his valet and just kind of going down there and just kind of approaching, like, being his manager, because I've never done that before. But Joe wanted me to wrestle, and I'm like, okay. And then I get a call. Joe's like, well, I'm gonna. Because I didn't know who he wanted me to wrestle on the first show. And he's like, well, let me think about it. I'm like, okay. And he calls me back the next day. He's like, I'm going to have you wrestle in the main event. No, just going to have you win the belt. And I was like, oh, okay. So my first night in Primos, the first time I ever wrestled there, I won the title.
Hell yeah.
And but we did a lot. That first night, Joey used to wrestle as Joey Terrifying as a Juggalo. And with the face paint and all that other stuff. And so that night, he went and put the face paint on and did the Juggalo thing again. And I jumped in the ring after the first match. He wrestled Jeff Cause, and Bam Bam caused the distraction, and Jeff ended up beating him. And then we got in the ring and jumped Joe, and I watched the makeup off his face in front of the whole Juggalo audience, and they were not happy with us. And then we cheated to win the title, and I got the title. And then the very next show, it was me versus Joe in the main event for the belt. And, after the match, we were at the Castleman's venue downtown. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was like this concert venue, and they had like this concrete floor. And so we put the ring right in the middle, and Joe got this table that had been sitting in the backyard for like a year, and it had been snowed on, rained on, sun beaten. So we go and we pull off the table. I go over on Joe. I beat Joe, caused by distraction, heel shit. And so we knock Joe out, and we get him to the apron. And the way you got to picture it is, okay, so Jeff Cause is inside the ring, and he can't really see the table. He can see it, but he can't see the floor. And then me, I'm on the apron. Bam Bam is like on the apron too, and he's got Joe goozled. He's ready to chokeslam him. And I'm like, do it, kill him, kill him. And Bam Bam picks up Joe, and he chokeslams him through the table. But the table doesn't really break his fall. The table basically doesn't exist. It was almost like that table was imaginary, because the table just goes into powder. Like it would, like, usually when you break a table, there's like 2, 3, maybe 4 pieces. But they vacuumed this table up. That's how they cleaned it off the floor. That's how brittle it was. So when Joe hit that concrete, and though I saw his body the way he hit, and I instantly got very scared, because, like, this is a show, and we want to make sure everybody's safe and protected. And this is my friend that I've known, my whole career. Me and Joe go back to our rookie years, and I just watched him pretty much die. Like, I literally thought he was, he was in serious trouble, and I'm like, oh my God. And you could see it on my face. Like, my face changes, because I'm like, kill him. And then I'm like, oh no. And I look up and I see Bam Bam, and Bam Bam saw the fall too. So Bam Bam's terrified, because we both just went white. We instantly, like, in my head, I'm like, best case scenario, his ribs are broken. Worst case scenario, he's Darian Drozdoff. You know what I mean? Like, we just crippled him. Like, I was really, really, really afraid. And then Jeff Cause didn't see the fall. He saw the table break, but he didn't see him land. And Jeff doesn't know. Jeff is still playing heel in the ring. So Jeff is running around going, he's fucking dead. We fucking killed him. Joey's fucking dead. So the audience, yeah, dude. And I'm like, shut up. And so the audience, oh man, I wish Bam Bam was watching this, because I know he'd chime in right now. But, like, the audience, we look up, and the audience is standing up. They're pissed. They can tell this isn't part of the show, and they could tell Joey's really, really hurt. And I guess it was our faces that gave it away. Like, oh my God, this is not this is not what's supposed to happen.
That's
and
usually
like,
how it happens. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's like 300 people there, and they're getting up, and they're like starting to, like, get mad and starting to cuss and starting to point, and we're just like, oh shit. Like, there's a term in wrestling called white hot heat, and and you hear a lot of
heat.
Yeah, like, no, not X-Pac heat, white hot heat, where it's just like, they're so mad they're about to riot and they're gonna kill you, and somebody's gonna get stabbed. You know what I mean? Like, back in the day, the veterans used to get stabbed or get, like, acid thrown on them or piss thrown on them and
Junkyard
shit like that.
dog heat, the one where protect the dog.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, that's white hot heat, and you hear it all the time. But a lot of those are big fish stories. You know what I mean? Like, you just can't rely on them. That was the one time I've seen it in my career, and as the one time was enough. I never want to see that again, because, like, me and Bam Bam were instantly, like, afraid for a new reason. Like, we were terrified for Joe. Like, we were terrified for Joe, and then we looked up and we're like, oh shit, we got to go. So we get into we get in the ring, and I tell Jeff, I'm like, shut the fuck up. And, like, we look, and the fans are all around the ring. They're really pissed off. Bubba is a genius. So Bubba comes down to the ring, and he covers Joe, and he's just, like, screaming at us, and he's yelling, and he's marching back and forth, and he's really pissed off at us. And I'm like, what's he doing? And then I'm like, because the show was supposed to be over. That was supposed to be the end of the show. They play our music, we leave. But I look, I'm like, what's Bubba doing? And I realize he's creating a buffer in between us and the audience. Like, he's making a zone so that he's in between the two of us, in between the audience and between us. And I'm like, okay, he's giving us a little bit of a breathing room. And then whoever was watching from the locker room could tell this isn't going the way it should. So the locker room empties, and they get in between us and the ring. And they create, like, that buffer zone between us and the audience. And a guy named Romeo Falcon, he reached up and touched the rope. So, like, he was going to get in the ring, because they were all going to get in the ring to, like, kick the hell out of us because we killed Joe. And when he touched the rope, I look over at Bam Bam and Jeff, and I'm like, now run. And we just run to the back, because they'd given us some space to run. So we run to the back and we get out of there. And I go to the locker room, and I'm like, we're safe from the audience, but I'm still terrified. Like, Joe's dead. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we killed him. And so like all of a sudden I see like Bubba and this girl like bringing Joe back into the locker room, and I'm just like, he's broken in half, he's dead. And Joe's just like, no, brother, I'm okay. The wind's just completely knocked out of me. And I'm like, your ribs ain't broken? Like, good Lord, dude. Like, how are you? Like, that was the nastiest fall I've ever seen. And like, I thought you were dead, dude. And he's just like, he's trying to take deep breaths. And thank God he was safe, man. I still, to this day, am like so grateful that he didn't get injured badly, because that definitely was a stunt that went completely the wrong way. And Joe's like, we were talking about this the other day when Jeff Cause came back, and Joe's just like, yeah, that was my fault. I brought the table. I was the one who brought the most brittle table in the world and everything like that. And I'm like, I don't care whose fault it was. I'm just glad you're okay,
Boy. Thankfully, he's one of the toughest sons of bitches I've ever seen
really
in my life. Like, he is such a tough, gosh.
Yeah, tough guy for sure.
He can take a beating. Oh, for sure.
Some of the battles. Tell me about it. I've given him some beatings. And
let's talk about some of those beatings beyond the table. Like, the feud with you and Joey T at the time, what was that like?
That was what it was. Yeah. And that was the second part of the feud. And then the very next show we did Trajan's retirement match, which is one of my most proud matches. It's on YouTube. It's a great match. And we retired Trajan. And then, the whole thing was like us, the So Fucking Over versus Joey T. And we did a lot. We handcuffed him to the ring. His girlfriend at the time, I spiked her into a metal chair, like brain busted her into a metal chair.
Yeah.
And right in front of him while he was handcuffed, and he couldn't do anything about it. Bam Bam chokeslam.
Oh, that's good heat. Yes.
Yeah, like Bam Bam chokeslam Joey. We chokeslammed his girlfriend. We just
How many times you beat up Bubba?
Wow. Okay, so Bubba. I love Bubba.
Same. So he's my Tampa Bay Buccaneers buddy. He's the only other Bucs fan I know.
Bubba was the top. So Bubba made me out here. Like he kind of made me a guy out here. Because when I came out here, I was 18 or 19, and I was training in the back. And Bubba came and saw me, and like we did a couple things, and he loved me, and he was just like, I want to work with this kid. But Bubba was the top guy. He was our champion. He was the top draw.
Yeah, man. He was the first RMCW champion, I believe.
Mm-hmm. And back in the day, we used to sell tickets, and it would be $10 a ticket, and then we would keep two. So every ticket you sold, you got $2. So like that's how we used to get paid back in the day. And if you couldn't sell tickets, nobody would book you, because it was just like, why am I going to put you on the show if nobody wants to see you? That was kind of the reasoning behind it. And so you would sell tickets, and I would sell like 40 tickets and make like $80 a show, which was pretty good for a rookie. And then, but Bubba would sell 60, 70 tickets. Like he had such a big audience, and every show, like every single show. And he was huge. He was this monster. And Bubba's like, I want to work with him. And they're like, the rookie, like Mike, Blind Mike, the promoter, was like, you want to work with the rookie guy? And he's like, yeah. And so me and Bubba just got along instantly, and he he insisted on putting me over. Like he insisted on me winning. Like I wrestled Bubba like 3-4 times, and every single time I won. And it was all his call. Like he just was like, no, why am I going to, like, why nobody wants to see me win this fight? Like, they want to see you, and they'll pay to see you win over and over and over again. And I was like, okay, cool. So like after the feud with Bubba, like I was kind of a made guy and like a top attraction. And like he really let me showcase, because Bubba was like, I just want to stand there and let you land on me, because like I was, I do all this high flying stuff and flips and all this other stuff, and he was just like, he's like, it's fun for me to watch you. Like I'm looking up in the air, like, oh wow, that's cool, and then you crash into me. So this
motherfucker just did a 450.
Yeah, and so we have a funny story. It was like our blow off to the feud was going to be a tables match, me and Bubba, and before the match happened, the promoter, Blind Mike, was like, yeah, we don't have a table. Like, we didn't bring a table. We're like, okay, cool. Well, we'll switch it over to a no DQ match. So we switched the whole thing to a no DQ match. And then when we're walking to the ring announcer didn't get the memo. So he announced it as a tables match. And the audience starts chanting for tables, right? So in the middle of the match, so in the middle of the match, Bubba calls the audible, and he's like, we're going with the original finish. I'll get a table. And I'm like, okay. So like, I didn't know what he was talking about, but he saw a table off to the side, and he went and got it and brought it over and like set it up. And we did the finish, which was me sunset flip power bombing him through the table on the outside. So yeah, it was me power bombing a 350-pound guy. But he went
he's such a monster too. Yeah, like you say, 350 pounds. Yeah.
Back then he was way bigger, and so like he goes right through that table, like snaps it right in half, right? And we go to the locker room. Turns out that table was like a $400 table that the venue owned, and yeah, and like yeah, we got in trouble, and it was supposed to be an unbreakable table. That it even said on there, unbreakable table, and Bubba broke right through that bitch. and yeah, and
he said, "Fuck this table."
Yeah, dude, and like turns out it was $400 table or something like that, and the venue got mad, and I think that was the last time we worked at that venue because of that. But I was like, it wasn't our fault. Like your ring announcer called the table, and they were chanting for tables. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like you forgot the table. So yeah, we got heated over that, but it's a fun story.
Exactly, it's a fun story. That's like and Bubba, like I can't say enough good about him. He's really
great guy.
One of the first that when I showed up at Primo's, he was really one of the first that took me under the wing and was cool with me. We bonded over Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, last year at the Brewability show, he was like, "Hey, I got a Tom Brady jersey I want to give you." I was like, all right, like cool. I don't know what I did to impress you, but I'm super appreciative.
Bubba
Joey, Buster, they're all really good guys.
Bubba's one of those guys, man. He loves you. He loves you with his whole heart. And Bubba's a guy who I will always go out of my way just to thank him. For what he did for me back then. That was 20 years ago, and it really kind of shaped a big part of my career. Is how unselfish he was, and like because of that, every single time I know he's at a venue, I'll make my way. Go out of my way to go say hi and just shake his hand and give him some love because his generosity was huge in me, becoming the kind of the wrestler that I am right now. So love Bubba to death for that.
Yeah, he's universally thanked throughout the Colorado locker rooms, I think, as one of the guys that helped kickstart this thing that we have now. They were the catalyst. They were that first initial spark.
Yeah, and I get that a lot too. Like a lot of guys, say that about me and like come up and thank me, and that comes up in conversation that I help build the territory and stuff like that. And I'm like, me and Joe and like Johnny Crash and Trajan, all those guys, we had a lot to do with it. But there was a lot of guys that were there before us, and like Bubba and them guys were like those, Bubba and there was guys like named like Plague and Tika Tapu and these guys were all like the top drawing guys who sold a lot of tickets and kept those shows running. Robert Amador and those kind of guys. Then the product wasn't great back then by any means, but the shows were exciting and fun and like I said, we had packed houses for them, and Bubba was one of those guys that kind of built that and had that going. And then when I got, it was there when I got there, and like, I think we kept it going during dark times. Like me and guys like Trajan and Joey and all those guys that were around, Matt Yaden.
Yaden. I know that a lot of people will. He gets some heat, I guess, but we can't take away what he's done.
No, dude, and I don't get that. Like I love Yaden. Like
that's what I it's one of those things like you just said, there's a lot of people that really love him, and then you hear just some people that are like, and it's mostly I think wrestlers that didn't really succeed under his system. They come out of that and kind of go,
but I get it. Like people have personal beefs with with this and that, and like, but Yaden's he's run a very successful promotion and very successful school. And when you have success like that, like people are going to you're naturally gonna have people like not like you. I mean, Joey's got a lot of people that don't like him because he's run forever. I'm sure Nick's got his round of haters and stuff like that. I mean, when, I've been around for a long time. I'm sure I haven't met one yet, but somebody probably doesn't like me. But yeah, that's just naturally part of it. And like Yaden's a big part of the culture out here, and he was a big part back then too when he first started coming out. He was going to be in a stable with me and Saga. Like I was booking him in Saga, and we were gonna be in a stable. I think we were in a stable for like 2 shows or something like that. And I forgot the name of the stable, but yeah, it was like gonna be me and him. But
that's cool.
But yeah, so like, there's another name that kind of, like I said, shaped this territory and kept things going for a long time, and got a lot of love from him. And that just goes for a lot of the people that I came up with, you know what I mean? And like been around and seen these things, like even just seeing like Hugh, he's the sound guy at Roxy.
Yeah.
But
Joe's brother.
Yeah, Joe's brother. He was Mangler. Like, you know what I mean? Like, me and Joe wrestled on RMCW's when RMCW had TV out here. And me and Joe.
Yep. Well, I was going to bring that up. Yeah, I used to watch the RMCW. Used to watch those TV shows back in the day with Bubba, and I didn't even know, and then ended up meeting these people later on. Yeah, continue though.
Yeah, but like me and Joe, we were like one of the first matches. We drew a really big number. I think we drew the highest number that show ever had, which was like a 1.1. I don't know what that means in local market terms or how many people that was, but yeah, we drew a very big number. And we had a tables match, and I put Joe through the table. And but the very next show, I wrestled Mangler in Colorado Springs, and I that was my second TV match out here. And a funny story about that was there was a kid in the audience who came up and asked me to take a picture, said he wanted to train, and he started coming to training. That was Caleb Crush. And that was the first time I met Caleb Crush, was the night I wrestled Mangler in Colorado Springs. And now look at he's still around. So like, all of these names, all these guys, Johnny Crash is another dude that, was there.
The Red and Jerry's crew, right? He started watching at Red and Jerry's and eventually joined the crew, right?
No, Johnny was he's one of the original guys out here. So when I joined,
he was pre-Red and Jerry's. Okay.
Oh, way pre-Red and Jerry's. Johnny's been doing this for like 23 years, 22, 23 years. But Johnny was with Epic. Him and Epic were like best friends growing up, and this other guy, Jeremiah. But Jeremiah fell off and he kind of quit wrestling. But Johnny, they were training when I showed up to RMCW. Like the night I showed up to RMCW, the very first night, they were in the ring training. And, Johnny was always one of the guys who just had to work his ass off and work harder than everybody else. And, because he's always just been a big guy and, not super athletic, but just earned everything he had. But yeah, Johnny was Johnny was, when I was 19, I think Johnny was like 15, 16. And he was one of the guys that I trained. And, he worked very hard. Like his first thing was on that TV show, that same TV show. Johnny was a druid for this, for one of the characters. But it was funny because Johnny's not a very tall guy. And the other guy who was playing a druid, he wasn't very tall either. So they kind of look like Ewoks from instead of druids. They look like Ewoks.
That's amazing.
So they came up with the gimmick name for him. He was going to be the Canadian Love Machine, and they came up with gear for him and everything like that. And his first match was going to be at his high school. We were going to shoot a show at the high school, and that was the night I wrestled Honky Tonk Man that night. And
that's cool.
It was really cool.
Did he have a Gatorade with him? His famous Gatorade?
No, but he told some funny stories that I'm not going to repeat.
Yeah, but, you will have to get those when we're together outside the show. Yeah,
for sure. But Johnny wrestled his first match that night against this guy Cage, and I was feuding with Cage at the time. And so we came up with this, like me and Cage came up with this idea where Johnny being like this, shorter, smaller, younger kid, with this, kind of out of shape. Him versus Cage, who was like this athletic dude and like taller and stronger and all this other stuff. And then I was going to be the special guest referee, like the surprise guest referee. And so the whole match, I just keep screwing over Cage because me and him were feuding. And like, Cage would go to pin Johnny and I count really slow, or I'd notice something, or like I'd get distracted, and then, at the end of it, Johnny Crash, Cage finally gets up. He finally pushes me because he gets frustrated. And I kick him in the stomach and I do this spinning brainbuster. That was the first time I did that as my finish, and it ended up being the Fast 38 brainbuster. But I hit Cage with it, and I grab Johnny and I throw Johnny on top of him, and 1, 2, 3, real quick, and pin him. And so Johnny's first match was at his high school with me as the special guest referee, and he went over. And really, and the fans loved it. They thought it was hilarious because I just kept screwing over Cage the whole match. And so that was a great night. It was a lot of fun. We had a blast, and that was Johnny's first show. And now Johnny's just wrestled for everybody all the time. Johnny's impressive because he's been doing this for, like I said, 22 years. Never taken time off. Never had like a serious injury. you know, he's just always been out there, and you know, fans just love Johnny. Like Johnny's a staple, one of the most over guys on the card, and you know, like you know, another guy who's got his fair share of haters, but like you can't argue with the fact that the dude just goes out there and he's just over as hell every single time.
You say that he has haters, but gosh, I haven't met a single one. I gotta be honest. Every person I've ever met, from the crowd to, especially in the past, you know, because I've only been with Primos for about 3 years now.
Yeah.
But for those 3 years, God, he's been one of the most lovable. Everyone loves him. Dude, can't do wrong. Great individuals.
I've got a ton of Johnny stories. There was one guy a long time ago who was an audience member. He ripped up Johnny Crash's like mask or something like that and spit on Johnny Crash like as he was walking on the ring. And I heard about it and I was just like, because I wasn't at that show. And so me and Johnny we went to go see a movie one night. I was like, yeah, I want to go see a movie, dude. Let's just go. And he's like, okay, cool. So Johnny came over and like picked me up, or like I picked him up, I forget. But we went to the movie. And when we're walking in, we see that dude and like his 2 friends. And I was like, that's the dude that spit on you, right? And Johnny's like, yeah. And he just kind of turns away. And I was like, fuck this. And I ran up and I fucking was like, spit on my friend. And I spit in his face and I threw up and I punched him in the face and shit like that. And like, his friends started separating us, and me and Johnny, we were just like, we separated and we went to our movie. And we were just sitting there in the movie, and like the credits are rolling and things are coming up, and you just see the door open up and the guy with the flashlight coming down the ring and coming down the aisle looking for me and looking for Johnny. And I was like, yeah, Johnny, it's time to go. And like Johnny sees it.
Time to leave.
And so like we get kicked out and we're in the car. And Johnny's like, man, I'm so sorry, man. This is my fault. We didn't even get to see the movie. I'm like, that was the best $20 I've ever spent in my life. Are you kidding me? I'll never take that back. You know, one time, man, I could tell Johnny Crash stories all day. So one time we're for Saga, what we used to do to draw, we would go downtown, like me and all the wrestlers, we'd all wear the same shirts and we'd all go downtown to like 16th, like 15th, like the 15th Market Street pub crawl, you know? And, and we'd just go pass flyers out. We'd just hand out these little quarter-page flyers and leave them on the tables. Every bar we went to, we'd just leave, you know, take one shot and go to the next bar, but we'd leave flyers everywhere. So we walk into this one bar and like me and the whole crew walk in and there's like 10 of us and we're all wearing the same shirt except for Johnny. We didn't have a shirt big enough for Johnny, so Johnny's not wearing the shirt. And we walk in and Johnny's dancing with this girl. Like we just walked through the door, like we just got ID'd, and there's this really attractive woman dancing with Johnny. And like we're just like, hell yeah, Johnny, absolutely. So we go to the bar, we get our shots or whatever. And I hear this like very like douchey guy, and he's just like, you dancing with my girl, bro? You want my girl? And I look over and he's like, he goes and he pushes Johnny. And I yell out really loud. I'm just like, that's a bad fucking idea, dude. And he looks over and like 10 wrestlers stand up with the same shirts on and stuff like that. He didn't stay around long. He kind of left really quickly. And Johnny was just laughing the whole time. But Johnny could tell that. I think Johnny tells the story better than me. But, the first time Johnny won a main event title was in Lucha Libre and Laughs, and he pinned me for it. Like it was a 6-man match. I wasn't the champion. I was one of the other competitors, but Johnny pinned me, and we didn't tell him he was going to win. Like Johnny didn't know he was going to win. He thought.
That's so good. I love these stories. I love that in wrestling. That's one of the best because it's obviously it's a predetermined sport. Sure, I get that, but those moments are the real, true.
Oh man, it was great. It was great. We stole that finish. I think Matt Yaden's company did it like very similarly for another guy, and I heard it and I was like, that's such a great idea, it's such a great moment. And so Nick came in, we were talking, me and Nick were talking, and he's just like, yeah, I want to put Johnny Crash over for the title. And I was like, that's exactly what we're gonna do. And he's pinning me. And because me and Nick were shooting a commercial for LLL, and he told me about it, and I was like, yes, dude, let's do it and let Johnny. I want Johnny to pin me and I was like, here's the thing, Johnny's he's gonna believe that I'm gonna win because I've been the champion for so many companies so many times. I was like, he'll believe it. So the week before, so Nick books this like 6-man match, and the week before there was a Primo show, and I come up to Johnny and I was like, hey Johnny, next show's next week's the show, for the title and everything like that. And I'm like, I'm supposed to go over, I'm going to win the belt. Johnny's like, okay, cool. And I was like, and Nick asked me who the last guy I want to be in the ring with, you know, who I want to pin for the title, and I want it to be you, man, you know, because you know you're my boy, and I just want that moment, you know, to be between us. And Johnny's like, absolutely, man, I'd be happy to, I'd be honored to. I'm like, okay, cool. So we go to the show, and Johnny doesn't realize it, but like a lot of his friends are there. He doesn't know why, and like Epic came out. Epic had been retired for like a couple of years, and Epic came out to see the show, and like Trajan was there, and Johnny's just like, "Oh, the guys are here," you know.
Oh, the news had carried. He was the only one out of the loop.
He had no idea. Yeah, everybody else knew because I was telling everybody, and so everybody wanted to come see this like shock, you know, finish. And so I was like, "Here's the deal, Johnny. I want you to hit me with the big neck breaker because he used to do like a TKO stunner thing. I was like, hit me with that." And then give me the big splash. And when you give me the big splash, I'm going to kick out. And when I kick out, you turn around, look at the ref, and I'll hit you in the head. I'll go up and do the swanton and pin you. And he's like, okay. And so like at the end of the match, he gives me the neck breaker. He goes and gives me the big splash. And I told Johnny, I was like, dude, when you pin me, you have to pin me for real. Like make me kick out because that's what the audience is going to really believe. You know what I mean? Like don't give me one of these soft kickouts, man. Make me kick out. And Johnny's like, okay, I will. I'm like, you promised me, dude. Like, make me look good. You got to pin me for real. And he's like, okay. So Johnny goes and he hits me with the big splash, and he and Nick was the referee for this, and he hits me with the big splash, and 1, 2, 3, and Johnny has his eyes closed, like he's pinning me so tight, he's got his eyes closed, and his full weight's on me, and he's like 1, 2, 3, and Johnny still got his eyes closed, and he's not looking, and he's just like, wait. And he realized I'm not kicking out. And like he turns and he looks at me and like he looks over at Nick and Nick's like, congratulations, champ. And I'm like, and Johnny looks down at me and I'm like, Johnny, you won. Can you get off me now? And he's just like, what? And like Johnny was scared because he thought he messed up. He thought he blew the finish and he thought like he didn't know we did it on purpose. So I crawled to the corner where the audience is to my back so they can't see me. And I'm just smiling ear to ear, and I'm like shaking my head at him. This is the first time he ever won a main event title, you know, after like 16 years. And
which title was it?
It was the Lucha Libre and Laughs title, like the
main of the heavy. Okay, cool, yeah, okay.
The main
that's
title.
Awesome. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and Johnny's just like, he was so happy, and I get out of the ring, and I'm like, you know, Johnny's been wrestling for 16 years. It's the first time he won a title, and even though I think he broke my ribs, you know, I mean, I'm very proud of him, and I'm so happy for him. And the audience is all clapping for him. They're cheering Johnny, you know, and Johnny gets out of the ring, and he did the sweetest thing. Like, he didn't know he was winning, obviously, so he didn't have a speech plan or nothing, and or a promo planned. And he gets out of the ring, and he dedicated it to Jack Saylor or Jack Masidal, who passed away, you know, and is a good friend of ours. Passed away like the year before that, and like instantly, like all of us started crying. It was great. That's such a great story. Like I have a lot of Johnny Crash stories.
Yeah, he's I mean, well, and obviously we have a ton of fuel for the next one too. So part 2 is going to be just as fun as part 1.
Oh, but yeah.
Before we get out of here, I wanted to share with you Trajan, who obviously someone you knew very well. They used to go by the name Tragic, right?
Yep. That was his first wrestling name.
Yeah. So, have you ever heard of a game on a computer called Extreme Wrestling Revenge?
Yes, and Trajan loved that because he was on it.
Yes. Okay. So Tragic, dude, you're giving me goosebumps. So I used to play that game religiously, 12, 13, 14. You know, I have the booking sheet still where I would write my everything, and I played it religiously. Tragic was one of the most talented independent wrestlers, so you could really start something with him. They weren't really over, but they had like, they could talk, they could wrestle in the game. They had all the stats, right?
Oh yeah.
In my head, I thought they were they looked like Ruckus, you know. That's just, you know, in my head I envisioned Ruckus, right? You know, from CZW.
Yeah.
I eventually get a pick pack a year later, I don't know. It was during dial-up time, so you know, getting like pictures for these games was hard. Should I get one? And it's this bald white dude, and I'm like, who the fuck's this guy that I've been booking? Like, what? Who's this guy? Well, I continued to book him. He was my boy, you know. I loved him. Fast forward, right? And this is how life works. I always wanted to be in wrestling, never got to be in wrestling, and never got to be a wrestler. It was right here in my backyard. Tragic was in my backyard my whole life. Didn't know these things. Fast forward to Primos. I joined Primos, the promotion. I get really invested. I become part of the group. I'm part of the family. and Trajan now does their last match at the Watering Bowl.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that was tragic. And I got to call their last match on commentary.
Yeah.
And that was my GOAT of TEW. The dude that, and if I would have known this, oh my God, you're the guy. You were him. You were my dude. You're my guy. Can I just, can we talk?
You have no idea how much that would mean to him. Dude. You have no idea how much that would mean to him. Yeah.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
He was so proud.
Talking to.
That's so cool, man. I love that. That's awesome. Cause he was, like, he would love that, and Trajan loved the spotlight. He loved any excuse to be like the guy in the room, you know what I mean? Like, he loved that shit. And he was very proud of that game because he called me up and, like, we were talking, and he's just like, have you ever heard of this game? I'm like, no. He's like, it's very popular. And I'm like, okay. And he kind of ran it down to me, and he'd had me download it, and I started playing it a little bit. He's like, look, dude, I'm on it. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, what? And he's like, I'm on it. And I'm like, am I on it? And he's like, no. I'm like, fuck you. And but he's like, look at it though. Look, like, it's got my moves. It's got my name, like the names of the moves and stuff like that. His names of his moves. He's like, has somebody who knows me how to put me on this thing? And I'm like, yeah, you did. He's like, no, I swear to God, it wasn't me. And I'm like, okay, well, cool. He's like, but one fan or somebody put me on this game. And like, you download me and use me and all this other stuff. And I'm like, that's cool. And he was so proud of it. Like, that was like a big thing for him. So to have you put it over like that, like, he would swoon for that, man. If he knew, like, I wish he would. I wish he was here to hear that story, because he would love that. That would be a big deal for him. Yeah, that'd be a big deal for him.
For me, it was a huge deal. It was a huge deal finding out, because I think I don't even know. I don't even know how I came across that his name was tragic. We were at a show after he'd passed, and someone, maybe it was Larry Nabisco or possibly Rob, and they were talking about him, and they were like, yeah, and tragic. And I was like, how do you spell it? How do you spell that? Because it was very specific. And they were like, Trajik. And I was like, and then it all came together. It hit me like a fucking ton of bricks. I'm like, that was my GOAT. That was my all-time favorite. That was the dude that I used in every promotion. He was out there beating the top names because I would build him to be this, because he was the best. He was my guy, to the point where my created wrestlers on video games were tragic, or I'd use that name in heavy. That was my GOAT. Dude, so to find out I did that.
He did
it's insane. It's insane. But that's how this business works, and I've found that out early. It brings you into things that you're supposed to be brought into. I wasn't supposed to know then, because who knows? I was supposed to know when I found out.
Yeah.
And God, man, it's spectacular. I absolutely love this business. I love this conversation. I love you, Lonnie.
Thank you
for coming on here, sharing an hour and a half with me.
Absolutely.
Last question though.
Yeah.
I did get some insight. I heard that you had a rat tail all the way down to your ass at one point.
Not down to my ass. No. I had it. It was down to like my shoulder blades. But yeah, I did. Yeah. When I first got into wrestling, you're kind of looking for like any kind of thing to stand out or be different or something like that. And somebody suggested that, and I was like, okay. And like I had one before when I was a kid, and I was like, all right. So I tried it, and then
same.
And when I went to Florida, like Marty, or Dory's wife, Marty loved it, and she was just like, it stands out. It's so it's so like retro and 80s and all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I kept it, and then like I wrestled with it for like a couple of years, and then I was just like, this is dumb. I gotta just cut it off. Like I was over it.
I'm done with this.
But yeah,
Joe McDougal wanted me to bring that up.
I sure did. Yeah, like I said, looking for different things to stand out, and I was like, yeah, let's go with that. And somebody suggested it, and I was like, okay, and I did it, and I regretted it because it was dumb.
Hey, it stood out, like they said. It made you stand out. Look at you now, man. Primo's world heavyweight champ for the 4th time, baby.
Yeah,
so,
man.
We'll have to run this back, and what I'm thinking, I don't know if you're down with it. Maybe we do a whole Saga episode where we just cover Saga.
Dude, I would love that.
That'd be something that I'd like to do too. Maybe get some of the old guys, because I can have up to 4 names in here. So I maybe bring in some of the guys. We can talk around. It's round table type shit. Bring in Buster or whoever.
Yeah, I just gave all my Saga footage to Benny Paradise, or Ben Ladeau. He's a huge wrestling fan. He was a huge Saga fan, and I didn't know that. And he always wanted to see the footage of Trajan versus Christopher Daniels. And
I would like to see that stuff too. If you have links or something for anything Trajan, because as we shared,
as soon as I have it, I'll send it to you, because I gave it to Ben, because Ben's like a video editor. That's what he does. And I was like, beautiful. I'll give it to you. I'll give all of this stuff to you if you put it all online, because I want his daughter to be able to see it. You know, his daughter's only seen a few matches, like my retirement match, his match with like a Strider or something like that. And I was like, so I want her, like, she's only like 7 years old. I think she just turned 8 now, but like when she's a teenager, I want her to be able to see her dad, you know, and watch him wrestle. He was phenomenal. He was so good. He was such an outstanding talent. And so I'm like, yeah, I'll give it to you if you put it all online. And he's starting to do that, and he's doing that now. So yeah, I would love to do that. So Ben would be a great person to bring on with us. Buster's another guy. I'll get
He's a natural. He's a natural at podcasting too, so we could do that. Bring him in, and we could even show some footage clips. We could talk about the matches. We could even talk about certain matches, play the whole match. You know,
dude, I'll come and talk. I'll come on here anytime you want and tell stories all day long. And
let's do it.
You know, August Guy's another great guy to be for Saga, or Johnny Crash, like Caleb Crush, like all of those guys can tell you about Saga. But yeah, I'm absolutely down, man. You just let me know when, and we could do this again.
Awesome, brother. Well, I appreciate you for spending some time with me, man. And we'll run this back ASAP. We'll do a whole Saga episode.
Fantastic, man. You let me know when. You have a great day.
Yeah, before you get out here, Lenny, do you have social medias or anywhere that you want these people, fine viewers at home, to be able to follow you?
You know, I think I'm Valdez Addiction on Instagram, and on Facebook, pretty much Lonnie Valdez. You could just find me, and I have a fan page, and I also have my my normal page, but they're both Lonnie Valdez. So, you know, I'm pretty accessible to fans and stuff like that. And so yeah, I'm happy to talk to anybody if anybody wants to shoot me messages. I always enjoy, you know, interacting with fans and stuff like that. So yeah, absolutely, anytime.
Awesome, brother. I appreciate it, man. And I'll be seeing you this Saturday at the family reunion where Lonnie Valdez takes on Marlon Bishop. Sunday. Sorry, that's Saturday. This Sunday, Lonnie Valdez, Marlon Bishop, Primo's World Heavyweight Championship, round 2. See you guys there.
Later, guys.
Later, Lonnie. Well, that's been the Sweet Spot. I'm Rocco McSweets. That was Lonnie Valdez. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the stories, the trip down memory lane. I'm going to leave you guys with a little bit of brand action. Y'all have a good one. Later, y'all.
SeatGeek is the ticketing app for fans like the High Five Strangers guy. Game-winning interception. First down. Just a nice, solid tackle. If you're in arm's length, you will be swapping skin with this extrovert. You see, he knows SeatGeek got him a great deal on tickets, so he can focus on what he does best, smacking palms. SeatGeek handles the tickets to sports, concerts, and more, so fans can fan.